The launch of the Voyager-a, the return of the EMH, and all those interesting little in-jokes and references from our first two episodes of Star Trek Prodigy Season 2. Well, hey everyone, I'm Nick and welcome back to Sci-Finatics. Well, today we're talking about the first two episodes of Star Trek Prodigy Season 2, which are entitled Into the Breach, double part, first two episodes of the season. It's been a while since Season 1 hit our screens. I think the last episode of Season 1 aired around the sort of November or December mark of 2022. So considering we're halfway through 24, we've had a bit of a sizable gap between seasons. But we have some really nice additions to the new season with the inclusion of the Holo Doctor from Voyager, probably a bit more of a bigger role for Chakotay as well, and some new faces and characters for the show. So let's get into the breakdown and review of episodes 1 and 2 of Season 2 Star Trek Prodigy Into the Breach. So the episode begins with a bit of a look into what all of our characters are up to. We've got Murph involved in a tactical simulation, Rock involved in a science class, Jankum's doing some engineering stuff. We're just getting a little bit of a reminder of what our characters, became involved with at the end of the last season. They're sort of cadets in training at Starfleet, I guess waiting to get into Starfleet Academy by doing some sort of pre-Starfleet Academy course or something. And it seems like a bunch of our cadets in training are being called out to participate in sort of, I guess, like an internship mission with Admiral Janeway on board the brand new Voyager-a. She sends the EMH doctor from Voyager to come and pick up the kids in a shuttle and bring them out to the Voyager. Great to see Robert Picardo back again. Love his character from Voyager. Always very entertaining. I can't wait till they really kind of put him to use in a bit more of a similar context to how he perhaps was used in Voyager. I sort of feel like his appearance in these first two episodes was sort of introductory. He kind of got them on board the ship. We had a couple of lines from him, but his involvement wasn't incredibly extensive, but I'm guessing that's he's gonna become more involved in the course of the season. Love seeing the new Voyager-a on screen, hearing a sort of a slightly modified version of the Voyager theme, the Jerry Goldsmith Voyager theme play when they reveal it there. And looks pretty similar, even though this is determined as a Lamar class, not an Intrepid class, which I think the Voyager was. It looks pretty similar, like the shape, the design, it looks pretty similar to the original Voyager, just with a few added modifications and improvements and so forth, I guess, that have been implemented from their journeys in the Delta Quadrant from last time. And we also get a bit of a recap as well in terms of what their mission is, what they're trying to achieve, where we left off in last season. So we've basically got this wormhole that's been created by the destruction of the protostar at the end of last season. It acts as a gateway to Solum, but 52 years in the future Solum, and Janeway's mission obviously is to bring her old First Officer Chakotay home. We also get a good sense here of where we're situated in terms of the timeline of Star Trek. There's made reference to Picard and most of the Starfleet are heavily involved at this particular moment in time with the Romulan evacuation, which obviously was an event that was referenced quite heavily during the first season of Star Trek Picard. We also get introduced to Nova Squadron, which I guess is a callback to the first duty with Wesley Crusher and Nick Lucano and all that sort of thing. This time Nova Squadron is a Vulcan and a Lurian, and another race here. I'm not sure what this other guy was, but it seems like our Vulcan character here from Nova Squadron is going to be part of the new team as well, from what we get to sense of in these first two episodes. We also find out that the Voyager-a has got a quantum slipstream warp drive, which is obviously a bit of the new technology the Dauntless used from last season, and also obviously that's part of the technologies they were exposed to in the Delta Quadrant. All of our crew here gets shuffled off to different parts of the ship in terms of what their duties are going to be whilst they're on board the Voyager-a. Obviously, we get Jankum in engineering with the quantum slipstream drive, which he's very happy to be involved with. We've got Zero helping the EMH, the Holo Doctor, in medical. Rock gets situated in cetacean ops. The only other show we've actually had cetacean ops in is obviously Lower Decks with the dolphins and everything in that. But this cetacean ops seems to not only have dolphins but also a whale as well. So I've always always found this cetacean ops thing a bit of a weird concept that obviously has never been shown in live action Star Trek series, because I think it maybe just kind of is a bit too out there in terms of having some room on a starship containing dolphins and whales that aid in navigation and so forth. It's a bit of a weird one, and you sort of have to stretch your suspension of disbelief, slightly, just to kind of buy the fact that there's a whole room on a starship with whales and dolphins in it. But Rock seems to be happy that she's been put in this particular department. Murph gets put in the holodeck to practice his security training moves and manoeuvres. Meanwhile, Dal isn't particularly impressed at all with being lumped in the quarters and told to do a whole bunch of reading material. Meanwhile, we find out that Gwyn is on her way back to Solom in a Federation shuttlecraft. I'm guessing that's also been fitted with the quantum slipstream technology, because Solom is in the Delta Quadrant, so obviously they've got to have some means of propulsion that gets them there quicker than what Voyager did back in Voyager with a regular warp drive. So it seems like there's a few vessels now in Starfleet that are implementing quantum slipstream technology. There's a few references in these first 2 episodes where Zero is also longing to experience the sense of touch or whatever. There's observing a couple back at Starfleet who are showing a bit of affection, and also the process on Voyager where he works in medical, talking about the birth of a Bolian child. So I wonder whether this is going to play into things in future episodes, whether somehow Zero is going to get a corporeal body or something like that, because it does seem to be pointing in that direction. Next, we find out that there's a bit of a secret being kept from our younger cadets on board this ship due to the slip of a tongue by the Doctor, and the fact that there is only actually 2 shuttle bays on the Voyager-A, but the Doctor misspeaks and says that there's a third, which leads the kids to believe that something suspicious is going on and secretive, and they just can't help themselves but to find out what that is. Which is where they find this cloaked ship, which is a Federation starship. It's a sort of a runabout slash... It kind of actually, this ship reminds me probably most of a variation on Chakotay's Marquis radar that we first saw in the Caretaker episode of Star Trek Voyager. It's not a runabout, it's not a shuttle, it's something, a little bit different. We hear that Admiral Jellicoe is still kind of bossing Janeway around. We saw him in season 1, and he obviously is in control of her activities to a certain extent, and he's kind of put the brakes on this particular mission to help rescue Chakotay and bring him back from the Solom of 52 years in the future. And we find out a little bit more about the Infinity, this shuttle that has a cloaking device. It's got temporal shields, which keeps it isolated from changes in the timeline and so forth, which I'm guessing is going to come in handy later in the season. The other thing I noticed at the end of the first episode is that the character of Dr. Noom, who was the Tellarite Doctor in season 1, his title has been changed in season 2, and he is now displayed in the credits as Counselor Noom. So obviously with the addition of the EMH, Robert Picardo's character in this season, the Doctor from last season has been bumped to Counselor. Next we see Gwyn in the shuttle. She's on her way back to Solom, looking through first contact protocols and everything, trying to work out the best way to inform her people that she means them no harm and that the Federation is good, and that, start dropping some seeds that is going to work in the favour of the first contact with the Federation and not against them. But this doesn't go quite so well when she lands on Solom, addresses the leaders there, and works out that Asencia from the future has beaten her back to the homeworld and basically has tipped off all of the leaders of her world to expect her. Don't listen to a word she says. She's nothing but trouble and wants nothing but bad things for Solom, which obviously, isn't particularly helpful for Gwyn. And it seems like Asencia almost wants the civil war to happen. It's like, I thought the whole point of the evilness of the Vaunakot people was because of this civil war, and Gwyn's trying to stop it, but yet Asencia is trying to thwart her in those attempts. So there's some not quite sure what's going on in terms of the motivations of the characters, particularly Asencia here, in terms of her seemingly wanting the civil war to happen and not wanting Gwyn to be listened to. Asencia obviously tries to get Gwyn arrested, and she manages to escape. She tries to contact the Federation shuttle, which has just dropped her off in orbit, but it gets destroyed by some Vaunakot warships, which kind of struck me as a little bit strange, because the Vaunakot level of technologically advancement, they haven't travelled the stars. They haven't made first contact with any other races. I would have expected them to be more like around sort of maybe late 21st or early 22nd century level of technology. So about sort of the same level of technology as the first season of Star Trek Enterprise, for example. Yet they have 2 warships in orbit capable of destroying a 24th century Federation shuttlecraft almost instantaneously. So that didn't quite seem to line up with me with their level of technological advancement. Kind of seems like it all happened very quickly here. It's like almost like she landed on Solomon, immediately went to the Capitol building or whatever to present her case, and literally it all went pear-shaped within the space of about half an hour. Back with the kids in the Voyager-A, at the wormhole which they've travelled to, a sphere seems to spawn just next to the wormhole which speaks to the ship. It's hailed by this sphere and offers a warning not to enter the anomaly at any cost. I'm guessing this is like a voice from the future, probably from, if I had to put a guess on it, one of the characters we know, whether this is a message from Chakotay, whether this is a message from somebody else in the crew or whatever, one of the kids or something, where their voice is being distorted and it's a message from a different part of time where something obviously goes catastrophically wrong by entering the wormhole prematurely. Back on Solomon, Gwyn decides to look up her father, who obviously is a younger man, astrophysicist, working there on Solomon. Kind of feels a bit like, Marty McFly looking up Doc Brown in 1955 kind of routine. Much the younger self, much different man at this particular point in his life. Isn't the aggressive leader that he is in the first season. He's quite a reasonable, peaceful bloke who isn't full of hatred and bitterness and everything, and he's quite reasonable to talk to. And Gwyn obviously proves to him that she is in fact her daughter from the future by showing the Varnicot heirloom that she wears. Meanwhile, Janeway is talking to all the kids. That she knows that they've been overhearing and trying to gauge what they've found out, and vows them into a secrecy, silent pact or whatever, not to, reveal this information to anybody, and shows some security footage they've recovered from the Protostar, which shows Chakotay's sacrifice, sending off the original Protostar and everything, which the kids have to keep secret. In Gwyn talking to her father, and also a Dreadnought droid or robot or whatever that isn't hostile, is just like a keeper of the library archive in this particular point in time. They work out, looking at the historical records of the Varnicot, that Gwyn has to undertake some ritual called the voyager-a, which will hopefully then get her kind of approved by the leaders, and hopefully they'll then listen to her rather than dismiss everything she says. Unfortunately, back on the ship, our new kids don't keep their secret for very long, because the Vulcan character from the Nova Squadron, whose name happens to be Majel, no doubt named in honour after Majel Barrett, who played Lwaxana Troi, and Christine Chappell, and was married to Gene Roddenberry for many years. And she overhears the secret and basically wants in on the plan, and her and Nova Squadron are trying to arrest the kids or take them into custody because they are doing things they shouldn't do in terms of moving the ship, which accidentally gets activated. We get some of the kids trapped on board. Rock gets knocked off the ship, along with Murph and 2 of the other cadets from Nova Squadron. The Infinity launches on like autopilot and starts heading for the wormhole by accident. And this is pretty much where our second episode finishes up. So, I think it was a pretty solid start to the new season. I think the fact that we're now on an actual Starfleet ship with the kids, with a crew, we've got obviously, the proper Starfleet crew, definitely a vibe to it in terms of where we're going to go, rather than sort of just a bunch of kids, going around the galaxy by themselves, not really knowing what to do. This is kind of a proper Starfleet mission. I'm liking where the new season has started off. I think it's quite entertaining. As I said, great to see the Voyager-A, great to see the EMH back. I think the fact that we're cutting back and forth between activities that are going on with the crew on the Voyager-A, as well as stuff that's going on in present day Solomon. And I'm guessing that's probably going to work in with stuff that's going to be happening in the other timeline, 52 years in the future Solomon as well. So we're probably going to be cutting around 3 different timelines simultaneously in future episodes, I'm guessing. So this series definitely isn't pulling any punches and trying to dumb down storylines for younger viewers. I think they're doing a good job of explaining everything as they go, and treating the kids who are watching this, and are big kids as well, with enough information that we can get our heads around all these timelines and everything that's going on. Because I guess there is a bit of a danger when you're kind of getting very convoluted into different timelines and things going on with kids and time travel. Are they going to understand it? But I think they've done a pretty good job to kind of explain everything pretty clearly. And I think kids series are always done the best when you don't treat them as kids. You give them a bit of credit for being intelligent, and then it becomes a show that everybody can enjoy, adults and younger audiences alike. So what did you guys think of the first 2 episodes of Star Trek Prodigy, Season 2, Episodes 1 and 2, Into the Breach? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, and we'll get chatting about that. I'll be back very soon with my review for Episode 3. Guys, if you haven't subscribed to Sci-Finatics yet, be sure to click on that big subscribe button to stay current and up to date with all the latest Star Trek news on YouTube. And also be sure to check out my merch. Plenty of cool Star Trek and sci-fi themed t-shirt designs and hoodies and mugs and caps and everything in the merch store there to take a look at, and they're always very reasonably priced, so that helps support the channel. Much appreciated. I'll be back very soon with my next video. I'll catch you guys then.